New country.
Zero P.
New country. New country.
Mr. Spotley,
Thank you.
good morning.
Good morning to you, Mike. Of course, I can't see you. You're hidden.
Well, let's see if I could change that. It went away again.
Uh-huh.
The extra class that I'm attending on Thursday nights, they all think that the video causes bandwidth lag. And so there's only two people on the whole class. Those are the instructors that have their video on. Everybody else is turned off. So I guess mine came up with the video off. Anyway.
Well, you can have bandwidth lag if you don't have, cable or something like that. If you're a dial-up, but otherwise, you got pretty good bandwidth.
Well, we had over 500 people on that one, the first call when they suggested that everybody turn off their video.
Well, now that makes a difference.
And it actually improved the lag. So I think we were overloading the server itself for Zoom.
Well, 500 people would do that.
Yeah. We're down, this is week 4, I think, and we're down to about 400, and it's going to dwindle, I think, next week because they just finished some very complicated mathematics.
I'm doing the ham test online for my extra.
Oh, yeah. Are you going through ARRL or a different one?
No, it's a website called Ham Test Online.
Uh-huh.
And it's an interactive learning, and I've used it before, and it does exceptionally well because it tests you as you go along, and then it goes back and emphasizes the areas that you need work on.
Yeah. Well, they suggested the ARRL's review, but it doesn't teach anything. All it does is run you through the questions.
Yeah, and there's a fee for Ham Test Online as well.
I see,
but it's not prohibitive.
You got earbuds in?
Yeah, I do.
It almost looks like in your left ear there, looked like you had a light. And I'm looking, trying to see what it is. And it's your earbud, actually.
Yeah. My wife gave me these. They're Raycons, and they are just fantastic.
Okay.
Long battery life, good sound, especially music and so forth is excellent in them. Rechargeable, and a little case that you put them in can recharge them up to like 5 times before the case needs to be recharged.
Yeah. Excuse me. I had to wear a mask yesterday for about an hour, and I'm suffering from it. My sinuses are draining, and I'm sneezing. And had to take my mom up to her physical therapy appointment. My sister couldn't. So I was the next designated driver. And rather than sit out in the car, my dad and I went in and watched and cheered her on, I guess you could say, not watched her do her exercises, but cheered her on.
Well, good for you.
So
hello, Carl.
Morning.
Oh, he's awake.
Yeah, I didn't get up until 8 o'clock this morning.
Well, that's my default wake up time. And actually, I had the alarm woke me. So I was trying to sleep in this morning.
Of course, I didn't go to bed until 5 a.m. So
Oh, were you up trying to catch Bouvet Island?
I was all
Yeah.
night long.
Were
And
they,
I've never heard a contact from them since the first day. And the first day it was probably just pirates.
yeah. Well, it's hard to figure in my mind what time zone are they in?
I'm not
They're
sure.
going UTC, so
Well, yeah, but I mean, if it's nighttime over there, there's not going to be very many, I wouldn't think, operators unless they're moving their sleeping patterns to match certain people's awake times.
Right.
I don't know.
Their awake time is about 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 here.
Yeah.
And then their day only lasts for their day lasts for 15 hours.
Okay. Similar to what Alaska has.
Because I was trying to make it so that the gray line, so that I got it when the gray line was on their area and our area, or at least as close as possible.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just didn't match up. But something that I noticed, I haven't heard them, or I haven't seen them on the log on whatever that is, JTSXTX. I have not seen them. And I've noticed that there are no 5 area stations transmitting back to them. So I guess everybody in the 5 area just can't hear them also.
interesting.
Yeah, especially those that had ice damage, right?
What'd you say, Carl?
Especially those that had ice damage, right? They won't be able to hear anybody. I saw pictures, K5, Richard, K5NA, and his wife, Susan, K5DU. Boy, did they they lost probably about 80% of their stuff. Man.
Really?
Hello, Carl. This is Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Good to see you. You're good. I put you up as a co-host, so if you can share, you're more than welcome to do that.
Sounds good.
I gave it back to you.
And
Because where I had them in there, they're not there. So I assume I gave them back to you.
we'll go take a look.
Back out of the office.
Anything you need, Carl? Or are we good?
Oh, we're good, I think.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go about 9:30, so
Okay.
we'll wait for you then. And I've seen you've talked to the assembled group.
All right.
And good to see you in person. You're a 3rd division director in the last couple of years. We've had Rhea and John was there last month, and John Stratton, and now you. And
oh, great. That's good.
And I think we got to go to get all 15, get the trifecta, and fill them all up.
Good idea. Good idea.
Glad you came. I grew up in I worked at Marriott's Great America up there back in the late 80s or late 70s, early 80s. So I'm sure we drove past each other up there on I-94 somewhere.
Somewhere. Yep.
Somewhere in that range. But thank you much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's kind of strange how the middle part of the country just can't hear anything. You know, I wish there was some place to learn more about propagation. You know, there just doesn't seem to be any.
I know unusual, but I'm having a second cup.
Hey, Mike, Mike HXT. Got a question about FT8. You know, I'm not seeing a CQ or any kind of transmission from Beauvais. But I am seeing all these people that are apparently communicating with them. And is it just that I'm not receiving that signal in this area from the island, but they are?
Well, if they're working Foxhound, you're not going to hear them on the regular frequency. You're going to have to do Foxhound. And I think they're going to be the Fox and you should be the Hound.
Yeah, I've got my everything set up Foxhound.
Yeah, but you have to almost see what frequency they're starting out on to be able to follow them. You know, if whether they're moving up 4 or 5 at a time or down or what, you know, you have to almost predict where they're going to be next time. And so it's a guessing game, and you'd have to be able to copy two cycles, excuse me, at least 2 cycles to be able to determine where cycle 3 is going to be, and follow them that way. I watched that video yesterday that I had put on Discord, and those guys were pretty much explaining things as best they could, but they were awful slow about it. I watched it from the beginning all the way through, and actually they didn't talk very much at the end about Foxhound, but they demonstrated it, and this was something they put on in November. So don't know what to say other than you have to be lucky enough to be able to start listening to them on a different frequency other than our normal FT8.
Hmm.
You know, the Congo guys did that too. They had you know, a frequency that was not the normal. You know, their frequencies are a little off, but also there was something this morning on Facebook about a group in Italy that are using this group's call sign and trying to pretend they're them, but they're really in Italy.
Yeah. I don't need them. I've already got my worked all pirates.
Yeah. Wappa.
Well, I'm staying close to home this morning. I just worked in Lavernia, Texas. But it's 1,800 miles according to the logging program, and it was 400 and some miles according to WSJTX. So something's wrong with one of my programs as far as mileage goes.
Well, it depends on whether it went straight or if it, you know, bounced off of Tampa or somewhere, you know.
I guess that's what they're looking at, the zigzags.
Yeah.
What were the two distances?
Well, I got 1,824 versus 414.
They were really where they said they were. They were, I think, the 400s.
New country.
Okay, let's go ahead and find a chair and we'll get started with the meeting this morning and our presentation.
3 minutes early, dude.
That's what you call efficient.
New country.
Yeah. Well, we got a full house. Absolutely. Wish we had this many on overnight. I gave you a piece of one a while ago. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start the meeting this morning. Welcome to the February SCARS Club meeting. I'd like at this point to see if anybody's here as guest for the first time. Have any guest here? No, but we do have Mike Rocky and Call KE5EQC. Okay, welcome, Mike. Anybody else?
New member,
Okay, new member.
Bob, Kilo Foxtrot 5, Tango Victor Golf. I'm a transplant from Broken Arrow, just in the process of moving here.
Well, welcome to the club meeting this morning, Bob.
Bob, you know what?
Any other guest? Okay. Well, up. Okay. Let me put you on here where they can all hear you.
I'm Doug, KD5SRR.
And I'm Joyce. I'm KI5ZOX.
All right, welcome. Come on.
Reggie Williams, KI5 ZPE.
All right. Welcome this morning. Glad to have you with us. All right, let's start up here at the front. And we're going to do club members this morning.
Bill, WG5T, Jim, AG42. Mike, N5,
Come on, KG5GWO.
Larry.
Larry, W5LAG. Bill, AE5F. Ken, K8WTE. Randy, AA5WC. Rick, KF5RYA. Thing, November, India 5 Golf. Dean, KK6IPF. Navy, KD5DPD. Rick, AI5HFE.
Bob, KF5TVG.
Yeah, KD5DPD. Dale, K0SJD. Aubrey, KF5DJH. Daniel, Kilo Kelly 5, Amy, Romeo. David, KI5QMF. James, KG5, LXV. Wow, KF5, NQB. Dwayne, A5KD. Mike, KD5EQC. Dave, N5ZVM. Jonathan, W5JWZ. Danny, WA6DKD. Oh, Alfred, N5BD.
Patty, KF5FNH.
Rodney, KF5UZA.
Mark, N5HZR.
And I'm Mark in 5AZQ, and we have Sam.
Did we miss some over there?
Do we miss? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry about that. Anybody else? All right. Okay. Anybody else we missed in here? All right. We got Sam. We got Lee. We got Mike.
Good morning.
Got Carl. Okay. Two Carls. Got Al. Got Larry's on there, but David. And we've got Peter. Anybody else? All right. This morning, we've got an interesting program on propagation, and I'm gonna pitch it to Mark to tell us about it.
Good morning, all. Glad to say hi and all that good stuff. Today we have a propagation expert and a division director, the division director from the Nine Land, where I came from, Carl Leutzelschwab. I think I got the introduction speech because I was the only one able to pronounce his name. K9, he's laughing. K9LA is the guy. If you've never been to K9LA.us, his website, if you go there and start looking for propagation stuff, you will be there tomorrow and the next day and the next day. There's a lot of good stuff on there, and really has done a lot of propagation work in the past. Has a past history with Schomburg up there at Motorola. So all the Batwing folks can genuflect a little bit. But with that, I will pass it up to Carl, sir, and let you take off. You've got the share. If you need to share a screen, go ahead and do that. And hang on, let me get a recording started.
Okay.
And it'll all say recording. And you're ready to go, Carl. Welcome.
There's my screen. I'm gonna be recorded. Okay, let me make it full screen here. It'll get there eventually. Yeah, there it is, for me at least. Let's see here. So it's full screen over there. Boy, there's lots
looking
of
good.
Looking good. Okay. Let me minimize the picture, the images. Well, I'm Carl, K9LA in Fort Wayne, Indiana. That's up in the northeast corner of the state, kind of close to Michigan and Ohio. And we're pretty far west, but we're still on Eastern time. So it's 10:30 here. Today, I'll talk about some basic propagation stuff. I could go on for quite a while, but hopefully I'll give you a good introduction. I plan to send a PDF of this presentation to Mark. And also, if need be, I could add some new slides in that PDF for the 3Y0J guys. So if you're interested, sound like you were talking about it. So I'll probably do that.
Thank you.
So here's what? Anything? Oh, okay.
Thank
So here's
you.
the
Thank
agenda.
you.
We'll talk about cycle 25. Where's it headed? Talk about space weather and propagation, all those parameters and all that stuff. Then just a general propagation forecast for 2023 by the bands. And I thought I'd add something to spice up your operating activities this spring through fall, a 10-meter long path, and it should apply to 15 and 12 meters too. I don't know if any of you remember John NT5C, anyone? He was down by Austin and he had some.
Texas is a whole nother country.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Why are you guys called South Canadian?
There's a river around here called the Canadian River.
Oh.
And we are on the south side or the south end of that river. And
Okay.
that's what it was
Oh.
for the local area. We get a lot of people from Canada trying to join. We take their money and say a lot.
Yeah, there you go. Good idea. Okay, so I'll end up with some 10-meter long path and then a quick summary. So cycle 25, it's always good to go back and look at history. So here's an Excel plot of the maximum smoothed sunspot number for all previous 24 solar cycles. Cycle 1 began in 1755. No, I wasn't around yet. Close, but not too bad. I'm sure most of you have heard of the Maunder minimum. That was 1645 to 1750, and that's when we had few sunspots. So if we had radio back then, the higher HF bands would have been extremely poor, but thank goodness we didn't have radio yet. Why did cycle 1 begin in 1755? That's when the scientists figured we had good enough data to drive a stake in the ground. Of course, the Chinese have been observing sunspots for a couple thousand years before that, but we just didn't have good, consistent data. It all started about the mid 18th century. Now, what's quite obvious by that plot is we've gone through 3 periods of big solar cycles. For example, cycles 1 through 4 were big, cycles 8 through 11 were big, and cycles 17 through 23 were big. Now, cycles 17 through 23, that encompassed our lifetimes. So that was great. That gave us great conditions on the higher bands. Since we've gone through 3 periods of big solar cycles, it also says we've gone through 2 periods of small solar cycles. Cycles 5, 6, and 7 were certainly small. In fact, cycle 6 is the smallest in recorded history. Cycles 12 through 16 were a little bit bigger, but they still didn't get up to what those 3 big periods were. So with cycle 24, which was the last one, we appear to have entered a 3rd period of small solar cycles. And that's the big question. Is the sun going to continue this pattern of big solar cycles, small solar cycles, big, small, big, and now small? Or is cycle 25 going to get us out of this 3rd period of small cycles? I've also annotated some of the cycles on there. In red, there's cycle 19, the biggest in recorded history. It peaked in 57-58 timeframe. 1957, 1958, and there are legendary reports of working DX on 10 meters around the clock with low power and modest antennas. So will we ever have another one of those? Oh, it's possible, but I don't think we're going to be around for that. Cycle 21, that one peaked in 1979, and it was a moderately big. Wasn't as big as cycle 19, but it sure gave us great propagation on the higher HF bands, 15, 12, and 10, and also 6 meters. Now, if you take an average of all those 24 cycles, that comes up to what cycle 23 was, pretty much an average cycle. And then there's that in green, the small cycle 24. It's the smallest in our lifetimes. And it's the 4th smallest in recorded history. So there's a little picture of history, and let's just look at how cycle 25 is doing right now. Solar min was in December 2019, and we currently have 32 months of smooth sunspot number data since solar minimum. 32 months, that's about 2.5 years. So we're more than halfway up cycle 25. How high it's going to get, well, we're just going to have to wait and see. Cycle 25 is the big thick red line, okay? And I've also plotted 3 other solar cycles. The green one is cycle 24. Remember, that's a very small one. Orange, the average cycle, is cycle 23. And that moderately big solar cycle, cycle 21, is in blue. So if you had to draw a conclusion from that data, you would have to say that so far, cycle 25 appears to be tracking the small cycle 24, but there's still time. January was a good month for solar activity. It helped confirm that maybe we will get up to an average cycle. So far, February, well, the first week was not very extravagant, but the last couple of days have been very good in terms of sunspots and 10.7 centimeter solar flux. So there's hope that cycle 25 may get up to at least an average cycle. I don't think it's going to get any bigger than that. Now, right now, we have enough extreme ultraviolet radiation from the sun to have 15, 12, and 10 meters open worldwide. Now, EUV is the true ionizing radiation for the F2 region, and sunspots and solar flux are just proxies for EUV. So let's look at space weather and propagation. I should mention, maybe you're familiar with Dr. Scott McIntosh's prediction. He's in Boulder, and he was one of the predictions that were for a very high solar cycle. And that prediction came out in June of 2020. And it was going to be probably not as big as cycle 19, but not too much below it. Now, in August of 2021, though, Dr. Scott and his colleagues revised their prediction for more of an average solar cycle. That's because something that they had expected to happen didn't happen when they thought it would. So right now, Dr. McIntosh and colleagues are predicting an average cycle. So I think that's still within the realm of what could happen. And that's what I'm rooting for anyway. So space weather and propagation. It's good to talk about the development of the model of the ionosphere, because that's how we understand the ionosphere. What we would have liked to have happened is to discover a correlation between a daily solar parameter, for example, sunspots or 10.7 centimeter solar flux, and what the ionosphere is doing today. That would have been ideal, but that didn't happen. The correlation was quite poor. Now, why was that? Well, we've come to learn that there are three sources of variability of the ionosphere, and we only really understand two of them. We understand solar radiation. We have three parameters for solar radiation. We got sunspots, 10.7 centimeter solar flux, and extreme ultraviolet radiation measured by satellites. The other one that we understand pretty good is geomagnetic field activity, which determines if the F2 region is disturbed. A less polite word would be screwed up. And we have parameters for that, the K index, the A index, B sub Z, and solar wind. We'll get into the descriptions of those parameters in a later slide. Now, what we don't understand, but it contributes to the variability of the ionosphere, are events in the lower atmosphere coupling up to the ionosphere. You know, we're talking hurricanes and earthquakes. That's at ground level. We don't have any parameters yet for this third source of variability. What it all comes down to, it's really tough to make a daily model with data from only two of those three sources. So that's why we can't come up with what is the ionosphere doing today based on the parameters we have. So what did we end up with? We ended up with a monthly median model of the ionosphere. Median implies 50% probability, and that correlation is to a smooth solar parameter, which is a very long-term average of daily data. So that says our understanding of the ionosphere is statistical over a month's time frame. In other words, if we have today's solar flux or sunspot number, that's not going to tell us what the ionosphere is doing today. We can get a general idea, though. Now, our propagation predictions like VOACAP, W6EL prop, and there's some others out there, give monthly median maximum usable frequency, MUF, and monthly median signal strengths. So what these median numbers are, what these numbers are medians, and there's a distribution about these median values. And what that says is the MUF on any given day in the month could be somewhat higher to much lower than the median. The signal strength on any given day in the month could be somewhat higher to much lower than the median. Unfortunately, we don't know which days are going to be the good ones and which days are going to be the not so good ones. And of course, the best way is just to get on the radio and listen, or look at some of the real-time propagation websites that we'll talk about here in a little bit. And just want to stress that plugging in the daily sunspot number or the daily 10.7 centimeter solar flux won't make the predictions more accurate. So maybe one of these days we'll have daily predictions, but it could be quite a way off. Now, here are the parameters that I consider important in order to get just a general idea of what propagation is like. And earlier I mentioned SN, sunspot number, SFI, solar flux index, EUV, extreme ultraviolet radiation, the K index, the A index, B sub Z, and the solar wind. One place to get them is from the N0 NBH banner at qrz.com. And I pulled this morning at 8:30 your time, 8:30 Central. You can see the SFI is very, very high. Sunspot numbers up there. A is 16, K is 2. Like I said, we'll go over a description of those parameters and also what their range is, so we can kind of see what's kind of get a general idea what's going on. What I'm going to concentrate on is just five of those parameters: sunspot number, solar flux, K, B sub Z, and solar wind. Now note on that N0 NBH banner, there's a MUF at US Boulder parameter at the bottom. That's pretty much a real-time indication of what's going on. It's the maximum usable frequency over the Boulder ionosonde if it was the midpoint of a 3,000 kilometer path. It so happens that a path from W6 to the Midwest is about 3,000 kilometers. So that's a good indication of what bands might be useful. At 8:30 this morning, it said 15 meters was probably open, nothing higher. It will be higher during the day because sunrise wasn't fully up yet. So there was not enough ionization for the higher bands yet. And again, these parameters should give you a general idea of what propagation is like. And here's a description of those parameters, which will help you make that decision. For example, SFI, the daily 10.7 centimeter solar flux, it ranges from 65, that's solar minimum, up to about 350 at the maximum of a big solar cycle. So let's go back to what the solar flux is today, 208. Well, that tells us that we're quite away from solar minimum. So that's good for the higher HF bands, 15, 12, and 10 meters. We're still not up to a big solar maximum yet, but and we probably won't get there, but it's going to go higher probably. Sunspot number, that's the daily sunspot number. At solar minimum, it can be 0. In fact, our last solar minimum between cycles 24 and 25, we had many, many days of no sunspots on the sun. And the sunspot number for a big solar cycle could get up to 450. Let's go back to the previous, the N0 NBH banner. Sunspot number today is 213. So that says, well, we're quite away from solar minimum. And we sure saw that in the Excel plot of cycle 25's progress. EUV is extreme ultraviolet radiation. I'm going to leave that one out. We've got solar flux and sunspot number. That's enough. The K index, that's the 3-hour index of the activity of the Earth's magnetic field. Generally, when the Earth's magnetic field becomes disturbed, it'll screw up the F2 region. You'll have to move down in frequency because the MUFs go lower. It's on a logarithmic scale from 0 to 9. So let's go back here. The K index at 8:30. Remember, it's a 3-hour index, so it gets updated every 3 hours. K was 2. And that tells us that, wow, yeah, it's kind of pretty quiet. So that says the F2 region should be up to its full potential. The A index, that's the average of the 8 daily K indices. So the K index is a 3-hour index. The A index is a 24-hour index, kind of coarse. It's on a linear scale, goes from 0 to 400. So let's go back here. What was the A index? 16. Well, 16 out of 400, that kind of tells us things are pretty quiet. And that agrees with the K index, telling us that it's kind of quiet. B sub Z, that's the north-south component of the interplanetary magnetic field, which is the sun's magnetic field. It varies from about plus 50 to minus 100. So what is the Z component? The Z component is, like it says, the north-south component. It's perpendicular to the ecliptic. The ecliptic is the plane in which the Earth goes around the sun. Now think about the Earth. The BZ is north-south. The Earth's magnetic field is north-south. So that gives us a good indication if the sun's magnetic field is coupling into the Earth's magnetic field. If it's slightly negative or positive, it's not much of a problem. If it's large negative, that means the solar wind is coupling into the Earth's magnetic field, and that's not a good thing for the HF bands. Solar wind speed, on average, it's for a quiet time, it's about 400 kilometers per second. Oops, let me go back to the B sub Z on the N0 NBH banner. Let's see, where is it? There it is. It's the third gold box down. It was positive 4.6. So that says things are pretty quiet, and it agrees with the A and K index. The solar wind, for quiet time, it's about 400 kilometers per second on average, and it can vary from 350 all the way up to 2000 when there's a big coronal mass ejection or a coronal hole, and that's guaranteed to not help the higher HF bands. So what was the solar wind speed today? It was 454 kilometers per second, which kind of says it's just a little bit above average, but it's not too much to worry about. So you can see the K, the A, the B sub Z, and the solar wind all correlate. If the K index is low, the A index will be low, the BZ will be maybe slightly negative to positive, and the solar wind will not be too much greater than 400 kilometers per second. Again, a general idea of what the conditions are. Now, what do we desire from those parameters? I've kind of given those clues already, but we need two conditions for a QSO to occur. One is there's got to be enough ionization. Generally, we worry about the F2 region because that gives us probably 99% of our long distance QSOs, day and night. Of course, there's sporadic E, which throws it off in the summers, but mostly it's the F2 region we really want to focus on. So there's got to be enough ionization to refract the signal back to Earth, and that means the MUF has to be high enough for the band that you want to operate on. And there's got to be low enough loss, and there's a whole bunch of things that make up loss. Those things are in the first set of parentheses. The first one's ionospheric absorption in the D region. Then there's free space path loss as the signal spreads out as it propagates from your antenna. Your antenna gains transmit power, receiver sensitivity, minimum discernible signal, MDS, and your local noise. You can work on antenna gains, transmit power, receiver MDS, and local noise, hopefully, to improve the probability that you can read a signal, or if you're using a digital mode, detect a signal. Generally, what we desire is K less than or equal to 3. And like I said, that correlates to a B sub Z positive or slightly negative, and a solar wind not too much higher than 400 kilometers per second. Of course, there's exceptions to everything. The VH types like high K indices for propagation via aurora, but we're mostly concentrating on HF stuff here. Now, for the higher bands, here's some guidelines for solar flux and sunspot number. For 15 meters, we need a smooth solar flux greater than 90 and a smooth sunspot number greater than 35. For 10 meters, of course, we need more solar flux. We need more sunspots. Now, even if solar flux and sunspot number are at their minimums, 17 meters and lower frequencies are still open. Even at solar minimum, there's enough extreme ultraviolet radiation from the sun to keep 17, 20, 30, 40 meters, et cetera, open. In other words, they have enough ionization to refract your signal back to Earth. Now, where are we right now in cycle 25? Well, the smooth solar flux is 120, which is good. And the smooth sunspot number is about 100. So that means 15, 12, and 10 meters should be open, and indeed, they certainly are. So if you don't want to mess with propagation predictions or all those space weather parameters, one thing you can do is go to one of the many sites that tells you what's going on right now. Here's dxmaps.com. I pulled it this morning at about 9 o'clock your time. And you can see North America's work on Europe, North Africa, South America, almost into South Africa, but whatever. And of course, it's going to be better for you as the morning progresses because you'll be more in daylight. Notice that that's data for just 1 minute. So there are a lot of people on 10 meters, that's for sure. That's a world view. You could pick North America view, Europe view, whatever. World view is probably maybe what you're most interested in. And you can see I've circled the 10 meter band up there, and that's why it's 10 meters. The data is generated from spots, packet cluster spots. It just plots the station who spotted the DX and puts that path on the map. And you can see that 10 meters was really doing good earlier today. There's some other methods. There's PSK Reporter, WhisperNet, the Reverse Beacon Network. That's if you transmit in a certain format, you can go listen to software-defined radios around the world and see where you were received. That should give you a pretty good idea what's going on in that band worldwide. There's the IARUNC Northern Cal DX Foundation beacons. There are 18 beacons. They run on 20, 17, 15, 12, and 10 meters. And each of the 18 beacons transmits for 10 seconds. So 18 beacons times 10 seconds is 180 seconds, 3 minutes. So in a 3-minute period, if you listen to those beacons, you can tell what worldwide propagation is because those beacons are scattered all around the world. Kind of interesting. There's also some software from VE3NEA called Pharos that syncs up your computer to the beacon time, transmit time schedule. And you can record data from the beacons around the world, and you can really see a lot of good stuff. And one of the things you'll see is short-term openings that we just can't predict yet. And a lot of it has to do with that third source. We just don't know enough about it yet. And it's kind of interesting. The ionosphere is very dynamic. And if you're in your chair at the right time, you may be surprised about what you can hear that our propagation predictions don't say anything about. Now, I also mentioned KC2G MUF map, and here it is. I pulled this at 9 a.m. this morning, your time. And what it does is KC2G downloads all the ionoson data around the world. That's what those circles are with the numbers. The numbers, those dots are the MUF over the ionosonde. It's for a 3,000 kilometer path, assuming the ionosone's in the middle of the path. So you can see that probably a path from the eastern coast of North America to Europe. It says 10 meters certainly should be open because the MUF's above 28 megahertz. So that's a pretty good indication of what's going on around the world. Nice visual picture, and it complements the DX maps, the visual picture too. Data is updated every 15 minutes because that's the cadence of most of the ionosones around the world. And I also put an X there for 3Y0J. That's where it is. One of the things you should notice, down around 3Y0J, the MUFs are maybe 20 megahertz. So that says that it's going to be a tough path down to 3Y0J on 15, 12, and 10 meters. Although our end of the path is good for 10 meters, their end is not. So that could be tough, but people have worked them. And like I said, the F2 region is dynamic and there are short-term events that we just don't predict. And you just got to get on and listen and or watch spots and see what's going on. Okay, here's a forecast for 2023, and it's very general. The low band should be good at night. As we move up cycle 25, we're going to start seeing more coronal mass ejections and big solar flares, which could cause havoc with propagation on HF. We have to take these bad things with the good things being high sunspot numbers give us the higher HF bands. 30, 20, 17 should be good all year. 15, 12, and 10. They should be great for the winter and spring contests. And of course, winter's almost over. In spring here, pretty well, okay, it's really winter still. Next weekend is ARRL International DX at CW in February. March is phone. Those contests ought to be very good. Next fall and winter, CQ contests in October, November. We should have great propagation on the higher HF bands. So get on the bands. You technicians have phone privilege from 28.3 to 28.5. And you'll be able to work all over the world with modest power, 100 watts, and some simple antennas like a dipolar or vertical. Take advantage of it before cycle 25 hits its peak and starts going down again. Now, the IARU contest in July will suffer from degraded summer propagation in the northern hemisphere, and that's due to a change in the composition of the atmosphere. You can see there's a plot of how the MUF varies from Philadelphia to Germany throughout a year at a given solar phase. Fall and winter months are great. Summer months take a dip. But of course, in the summer, there's sporadic E, so watch for that. 10-meter long path. Here's some data from K9LA on the East Coast. And he worked a lot of JAs, Japan, and lots of VK6s, Western Australia, on 10 meters from January 79 through December 1993. So that's 2 solar cycles worth of data. And you can see the months that he had the most contacts, March through September, some October too. So that's why I said upcoming spring through fall, take a look at 10-meter long path. You'll be pointing your antennas, if you have directional antennas, to the southeast. Normally short path to JA and VK6 would be to the northwest. But for long path, point them the other way towards the southeast, and it'll be right after your sunset or your sunrise. And maybe a little bit after sunset, because there is a morning long path and an evening long path. Let's look at that. So here's K2ARO's path to VK6 and JA, that's the thick black line. He's headed southeast. That's for an April month, and you can see where the terminator is. That may lead you to believe that long path is a gray line path. Gray line means the path is aligns with or is very near the terminator. But he also made contacts in October, and his long path to the southeast is nowhere near the gray line. So it can happen from March through October, and you just got to point the antenna the right way. And here's the big picture for a 10-meter long path, and I'm sure this applies for 15 and 12 meters too. You guys are in the, well, so am I, in the pinkish vertical colorful box there. So what it says for morning long path, go to the right, and then you can see the longitudes that you should be able to work on a morning long path. It's Russia and Southeast Asia and Japan. Of course, Southeast Asia and Japan have, well, Japan has quite a few amateurs. Southeast Asia, not as many, and Russia, not as many. So a big issue with long path is there anyone on the other end? So that's your morning long path. You also probably have an evening long path. And over on the left, those are the longitudes you should be able to work on an evening long path on 10 meters, which you'll be pointing to the southwest. Europe through the Mideast. And all this whole picture comes from data from K9LA, from N6AV on the West Coast, from NT5C in Texas near Austin. And I also maintained skeds with JH3 Delta Papa Bravo back in '89. And one morning we had a 10-meter long path for 2 hours and 15 minutes. And that really surprised me. It was that long. But 89 was the peak of cycle 22. Lots of good sunspots to keep 10 open. And also the K index was very low. So the ionosphere wasn't disturbed. And that was really fascinating. We started at 6 a.m. in the morning, my time, checked every 15 minutes. And like I said, we went to 8:15. I had to get to work in a way. So that's good that the band kind of, the long pass signals faded away. I had to get to work. So have some fun. You technicians can take advantage of this too. And a lot of people are aware of long path. One thing that kind of I wonder about is a lot of those 10-meter long path guys are silent keys now. And I wonder if that has anything to do with 10-meter long path. Nah, I doubt it. Okay, whatever. Just a humorous comment, I guess. So here's a summary. Cycle 25 is awake and it's in its ascent. Hopefully it's going to get a little bit bigger than where it is now. Solar maximum will probably be around 2024, 2025. If the solar activity picks up significantly, solar max will happen a little bit earlier, maybe around 2024 sometime. But so far, and I can't stress so far, it kind of looks like another small cycle. But we'll see. But even if it is a small cycle, now and around solar maximum will offer worldwide propagation with modest power and simple antennas on 15, 12, and 10. So get on, have some fun. Of course, we're going to have more 6-meter F2 propagation as cycle 25 keeps ramping up, and that's going to happen in the fall and winter months that are coming up. Of course, the digital modes offer an advantage over CW and sideband because they can decode a signal farther down in the noise. That's a big deal on 10 and 6, where the MUF is very critical. And there are tools on the internet to determine what the bands are doing right now. So, if you go to dxmaps.com and you see nothing's going on, then more than likely it wouldn't be worth going to check out what's going on, whatever. So, Mark, that's all I have. Like I said, I'll send a PDF of this. And if you guys would like, I could add a couple extra slides for the 3Y0J stuff. I've not heard them very well up here. We're at 41 degree north latitude. Thankfully, The last major 3Y0 Bouvet expedition was in December 89, January 90 at the peak of cycle 22. And I worked them on many bands. The higher bands were just excellent. Cycle 22 was about twice as big as where we are now in cycle 25. So that explains why 15, 12, and 10 meters can be kind of iffy right now. Working Bouvet. And of course, as I understand it, they don't have their linears yet, and they don't have their big antennas yet. So it's kind of tough. Hopefully the weather clears up so more people can get on the island, and also they can put up better antennas and get the better equipment on the island. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. So that's all I had.
Carl, we appreciate it. We got a couple of questions, and I'm sure we might have some more. Just for your information, we've had a number of Bouvet contacts from the OKDXA folks coming in this way. So hold on, you'll be getting some stuff. I have one question. It was relayed to me here in Oklahoma. We're really fond of our meteorologists, our weather people, and the question is, they were worried for the safety of the solar weather people that are up on the sun in the hot weather, taking those readings. Can you talk about how those readings are picked up? Are they is a guy up there with an anemometer that's measuring solar wind?
Yeah, there's some guy up there sitting on the sun. He's got a nice, he's got a lot of ice around him. And oh no, wait, okay. Well, we measure the K index down here on Earth. It's how the Earth's magnetic field is varying. Sunspots and solar flux, we measure at ground level. Solar wind and that B sub Z, that's on a satellite that's on a line from the Earth to the sun. It's about 1 million miles away from the Earth. So there any other parameters in there? Well, let me go back away here. Oh, come on there. Okay, there we go. Oh my gosh, my PowerPoint's working. How about that? Okay. Extreme ultraviolet, well, that's measured with satellites above the atmosphere, because extreme ultraviolet, as it goes through our atmosphere, loses energy in the ionization process, and that's why we can't measure it at ground level. There's some other measurements that are done by satellites, but again, I think these parameters should give you a good idea of what could be happening.
Perfect. Thank you. They were feared for their lives. So good to know they're not going to be anybody passing on. How about Zoom? Anybody on the Zoom channel that needs to open up for a question?
Yes, sir. I was wondering more about the website that you had posted, the DX Maps PSK Reporter, and I didn't get them all listed. So if you could show those, I'd appreciate it. Remember,
I'm going to send a PDF of this to Mark, so you don't have to copy anything down. Okay. I can put, on this page, PSK Reporter, I can put their URL. I can put the WhisperNet URL. I can put the Reverse Beacon Network URL and the IARU Beacon URL on there too. I will do that when I send the PDF.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for your preparation and presentation on this propagation issue. I have two questions. One, what makes scientists feel that earthquakes and other Earth issues have an effect on propagation? And the second one is I've had a heck of a time trying to even hear Bouvet. Yep. And so any suggestions about how we might be able to make contact with them?
Well, okay. With respect to events at ground level in the lower atmosphere coupling up the ionosphere, it's not that we think it happens, we know it happens. We can see signatures of earthquakes hurricanes, etc., in the ionospheric data. Now, generally, it's of a small nature. How much that affects propagation, I'm not sure we can say that yet because we just don't fully understand what's going on. But we can see the F2 region vary because of those events down at lower levels of the atmosphere and also at ground level. So whatever. Okay, as for, well, assuming, I don't know what your noise, are you in a rural area? Do you have a low noise?
Yeah, low should be low noise. Yeah.
Okay, well, okay. If you didn't, well, you gotta somehow work on your noise or get antennas that maybe a directional antenna, of course, will reduce your noise because it doesn't pick up noise around the compass. Higher gain antenna. And sometimes you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and not much you can do.
Move.
Move, yeah. Well, you could use a remote radio too, to a more better area. You know, the DXCC allows you to work DX from anywhere in the United States. Whether that's an ethical issue for you, that's up to you, but there are ways to do that. I don't know what to say. There's nothing major that you could do except, you know, put up if it's for the higher bands, 15, 12, and 10, put up a 6-element mono bander at 100 feet or something.
Questioning. You mentioned the 3 centimeter radiation. Is that the microwave frequency that's being measured?
What radiation was that?
3 centimeter.
3 centimeter. I don't recall mentioning a 3. Well, let's see here. Of course, isn't
it the 10 centimeter flux?
10.7 centimeter. Is that what you're talking about?
Okay, 10 centimeter.
Yeah, that's measured up in Canada.
Does that relate to the microwave frequency at 10 centimeters?
Yeah, that's the wavelength of the radiation that they're measuring is 10.7 centimeters, which is around 2,800 megahertz. And
around
of course,
3 gigahertz. Okay.
Yeah, 3 gigahertz, and that comes from the 10.7 centimeter measurement started in 1947, and where it comes from is those surplus radars from World War II, and that's why 10.7 was picked, because that's what the equipment did, and it's a good measurement. It's a measurement. It's objective. You know, the sunspot number is subjective because we count them. You know, and how small a sunspot do we count? And there's human bias in counting sunspots, unfortunately, too. So SFI, solar flux, is an objective measurement. And again, it's a proxy for extreme ultraviolet.
Any others on Zoom have a question? Nope. Anybody locally have a question? One in the back. So hang on, wait for a microphone because he won't be able to hear.
On those parameters that below the ionosphere that nobody has defined as yet, is there any links to research being done on defining those parameters?
Well, in the peer-reviewed journals, Journal of Geophysics Research, Space Weather, Radio Science, the European Geophysical Union, there are a lot of papers on that kind of stuff. And I guess I can get into what happens is an event happens down low. It couples up to the ionosphere, the F2 region, and causes a traveling ionospheric disturbance. And what that is kind of wave-like motion in the F2 region. We can define the period of that wave but trying to correlate it to how it correlate all that stuff in one simple formula is kind of tough. We've been scientists have been working on this for about a decade, maybe a little bit more, trying to better understand it. And like I said, we don't have any parameters for that yet. So, parameters that we can use to input into the model of the ionosphere. And well, hopefully something will happen one day.
I've raised my hand.
Go ahead.
He's not tooting his own horn, but if you go to K9LA.us, there are several links there to
that's right.
propagation stuff. It's still, I mean, this is not passe stuff, that this is being studied all the time. Some people tend to think of HF as being old fashioned. Well, sure, but space weather is a big deal.
Yep.
And people are studying the ionosphere all the time. And K9LA.us has links on there to some of that research. I'll also plug the HAMSci guys.
Yep.
They are doing amateur data collection, amateur radio data collection for this stuff. When he mentioned traveling ionic disturbances, I thought, oh yeah, that's one of the areas that they're studying.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff online to get into that research if that's what you want to do. There's a lot of very strange little Greek symbols there that somehow add together to be other Greek symbols that I don't understand, but you can kind of get the gist of it by reading it.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of information out there, and you got to sift through it and which ones are important for us. Space weather is important for space travel, for astronauts. It's also important for orbits of stuff going around Earth, because at solar max, there's more drag. That means the orbit's going to be affected. And, speaking of HAM-SCI and a lot of the stuff in the peer-reviewed journals, we're just in the measurement phase right now and trying to understand how it couples up. I'm not aware of anyone who has tried to tie that to propagation yet. Something simple, which who knows, it may not be that simple. It may be several. For the events in the lower atmosphere, it may turn out to be several parameters that are tied together. Instead of, like solar radiation, we could use sunspots only. Geomagnetic field activity, we could just use the K index. That would be good enough, because for those two sources, those parameters are kind of very well tied together. But for the events in the lower atmosphere, it may be that we need more parameters that define a bunch of things. So I'm not sure, like I said, I'm not sure anybody's thinking about that yet. Oh, okay. What I'll do is add a slide of references. Like you mentioned, the HAM-SCI stuff, I can give the URL there. There's some good books out there. Let's see, 921. A couple of years ago, I updated the CQ propagation book, the CQ shortwave propagation handbook. It was the last version was 1995, so a lot of stuff had happened in 35, 45, 95, 2005, 2015, 20, 30 years. So that's a book. You got to buy it though. On my website, I have Bob Brown's book, the Little Pistol's Guide to HF Propagation. That book is out of print. Bob is in silent key, but that book is on my website as a PDF, and there's a good start for free.
Nothing here. No hands are up in the air. So Carl, I really want to thank you on behalf of all the folks that are here.
Yes,
Give them a round of
very much so.
applause.
Okay.
And we appreciate all your efforts. You are welcome to stay if you wish, but you've probably seen 8 million Hammer radio meetings and they're all about the same.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for letting me do this. If you got any topics in the future that you would like me to drill down into, I certainly can do that, or talk about antennas or de-expeditions, something like that, whatever. So
A volunteer. We always love those. Thank you.
yeah,
Appreciate
no
it.
problem.
Thanks
Okay.
a bunch, Carl. Appreciate it.
Okay, I'll leave
Thank
here.
you very
So
much.
Let me stop sharing. I guess I should do
Okay.
that.
Thank you, sir.
There we
All
go.
right, we're gonna take a 5-minute break and we'll come back and do our meeting.
That was really good. That was enjoyable. I like that.
Yeah. Thanks, Peter, for picking him up. That was a great one.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Yeah, it's very sciencey though.
We love it.
Well,
There's
yeah.
You can't
To-
see it here, but the room is SRO
Well, good.
big time.
It's really the sciencey end of amateur radio. And hams are still contributing to that science. So
Well, it's there for all of us if we want to use it, or if we
yes.
want to just get on there and try our luck. But if you want to,
New country.
Anything that reflects my little 100-watt signal to the other side of the world, I'm kind of interested in.
isn't it amazing sometimes? When I
Amazing
look up and
pretty much every time.
I look up and it's just I just talked to somebody 9,000 miles away.
Right, with no cell phone tower in your neighborhood.
Yeah, just amazing.
Yeah.
New country.
Yeah, it's yeah. Oh, he co-hosted me. Okay.
Yeah, Peter, but I'm liking it a lot better at 20 watts or less.
No, I hear you and acknowledge you, and you're absolutely right. And it goes down from there. I mean, there are crazy people who do the QRPP stuff where they're down like 50 milliwatts.
Yeah.
And making.
But that's
QSOs.
what makes it cool. When you've talked to everybody in the world at 100 watts,
Yes.
and you're getting bored, just turn it down to 50 and then try
Yes.
again. It just adds a whole new.
It does. It does.
Well, the thing that I've realized a lot more, of course, I always realized antennas, but the more that you pay attention to resonance, the better off you're going to be, especially with
What? You're kidding.
Well, all right, I guess.
No, I'm teasing, but no, you're 100% correct. 100%. Yeah, I mean, you can tune up a lot of stuff with a tuner, but that's not the same as having a resonant antenna. It's really not. Yeah, the QRP, and the neat thing is, the Xiegu stuff and the ICOM 705 and even the 817, 818, that's all 5 watts or maybe 10 watts. Maybe some of them, I guess, will do 20 on phone. That kind of thing was not really, it was certainly available 30 years ago when I got my license, but it was very niche. It wasn't really considered mainstream at all. And now lots of guys have those Xiegu because they're so inexpensive. And even the 705, which is, let me tell you, I'll show you the bill, was not inexpensive. But there are a lot of people finding out, as you are, that 20 watts can do a lot, 10 watts can do a lot, 5 watts can do a lot.
I of course can't afford a 705, but I do have a Zygus, and I have done so much with it. The sideband, not doing digital. I enjoy talking to people.
Absolutely.
And the thing that I found out is, especially the magnetic loop that I built.
Lee, I know 2 opportunities coming up this year where you can win a 705 for a mere $20 investment in a lottery.
A mere $20.
I'll loan you the $20, and then if you win, you get it.
And then it's between me and 199 other people.
299. We've upped the.
Oh, really? It's gonna be 300 tickets this year.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that was a good raffle. I mean, that's a good raffle.
Yeah.
Well,
It's expensive, but the money goes to a good cause.
Well, both times we sold the 200 and still had people saying,
Give me more, give me more.
want a ticket. You have
Yeah.
a ticket. So we decided to, not leave people out. So.
Yeah. Yeah, those low power radios, man, that was 30 years ago. That wasn't, I mean, don't get me wrong, you could get low power radios. Mostly they were the CW stuff that you can still buy. There wasn't really a lot of low power phone stuff until the 817 came out, which is actually, the 817 is probably close to 20 years old. But yeah, it's been good for the hobby, and people are realizing that, that whole decibel thing is
Oh yeah.
half.
Well, I will add that this radio that we're raffling off has a case. I mean, it's ready to hike up a hill with, or
yeah.
I mean, it's a package, with the antenna, and we've added some stuff this time that we didn't have on there last year, but I'll wait.
It was a really good package.
But yeah, but it's something you could just throw in a
It was
backpack.
ready to go. Yeah. Did you include the backpack?
Everybody has backpacks,
Okay. Because ICOM sells one for the 705. I'm sure it's overpriced, but
I caught a little discussion that it won't fit with the cage that we put on in the pack.
Okay.
Oh, in their backpack, it's made
Gotcha.
just
For that radio.
I think that's what I heard the other day. So
the DB game is real. I mean, it's like if you go from 100 watts to 50 watts, you've cut your power in half, but that's only a 3 dB decrease, which is, if your S meter is close to right, that's half an S unit. And people are finding, and you go down half again, it's a full S unit. Well, now you're down to 25 watts, just the neighborhood Lee's been playing in.
Right.
So, I mean, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of cool stuff in the hobby that wasn't there when I got started. So,
this guy that just spoke, I'm on his website. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's got this incredible amount of information.
Yeah.
More than I'll probably be able to take in, in the next year.
Yeah, a lot of that propagation stuff's way over my head. I wasn't kidding about the Greek symbols and stuff. I mean, that's omega is ohms, and that's really pretty much
you
I'm
got
done.
that right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
R square.
yeah.
And ohm has the law.
Ohm has the law.
Our round cornbread R square.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of cool stuff out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, I mean, on the web, you're looking at the website, his website's good. There's a lot of website out there that are just full of junk though. His does not appear to be that, but
Well, I'm not qualified to judge, but I'm just looking at the volume of different documents he's got on here.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's why it's nice to hear him talk and just kind of reduce it down into a
Yes, very much.
little can for us. But he was talking at the end about that little pistols guide to HF propagation, and I just downloaded that, and it looks like it's written in a language that I can understand.
Well, it's got little pistol in the title, so
Yeah, it's definitely
it wasn't rho over omega or however that works.
Yeah, the cover of it has a guy walking across a Yagi with a kite string in his hand and a kite flying over him. Checking the solar wind is what the caption says. Yeah, I think it's going to be readable. It's only 130 pages.
That's not bad.
What do we got here? What are you holding up there, Al?
Coffee. He needs more of it.
Oh, I'm trying to read what a guilt zone.
Gulp zone.
Gulp zone. Okay. Well, go get some coffee.
That's the G layer. It's a different thing. I remember going to a a club meeting presentation it was in the 90s. And the guy he was an older guy, older than I am now. And I guess he had worked for AT&T long lines early on when they were still doing transatlantic telephone calls on HF or medium frequency or something. And so it shouldn't surprise you to find out Bell Labs did a lot of propagation work, radio propagation work. And they had it all mapped out between their various stations where how could they maximize propagation? Because they were looking for 24-hour service. Well, you all know that if the sun is up, propagation is different if the sun is on the other side of the planet. So actually, I guess we spin, the sun doesn't, but you know what I mean? It's interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. So have any of you guys worked 3Y0J?
I haven't even heard them.
No, me neither.
You know, I did real well with that Congo group. I worked them on 3 different bands, but FT8. But
did I work them?
I don't believe they have enough equipment or enough antennas up yet to really be working anything.
Well,
yeah,
and they're trying
surprised.
not to be killed too. So
Yeah,
right.
I'll tell you, those guys have got some. I mean, they said in their little presentation that they only picked young guys. You know, there were some older guys that wanted to go, and they told them no, basically. But I even as a young guy, I'm not sure
Well, because you and I aren't that young, dude.
Well, not anymore. But even when I was that young, I'm just not sure I would have.
I was exchanging mail with a kid I grew up with, and we were talking about his dad, who was quite a bit older than most of the parents. And Kerry said his dad always said he felt like he was 17 until he looked in the mirror, even when he was 95 years old. So,
yeah. Well, I saw something the other day that said they really wish they looked as young as they felt. You know.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. But yeah, that's that Bouvet Island, man. That's crazy stuff, man. Oh, is he getting ready here? I've got him muted.
I mean, you got to look at those guys could all be killed,
right?
For ham radio, you know,
for ham radio, so that we can get a tick box.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, that's dedication to the sport. I mean, that's all there is to it.
I've got the thing muted at the firehouse, and I cannot unmute them. I can only ask them to unmute. Unmute yourself, please.
Well, I'm going to remute so they don't.
Yeah,
hear.
me too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. You can't park between 2 drives. Fire department, they get real upset because if they pull that, they don't want to hit somebody. All right, would you make sure that they can hear you? Yeah, you're good. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start. Let's start with Larry Goodwin with the Treasury report. Let him give us an update of where we stand on it.
Okay, while Mark gets files up, it is time to pay your dues. Dues are due by March. And then we start posting the membership online. It don't matter.
Okay.
Balance sheet.
Wow.
Got 2,400 in the checking count and 23,000 in savings for a total of $26,131. Then going over to profit loss. Our interest count for the last quarter was 1387. We brought in $21 on donuts and $1,100 on membership dues. We're up to around 100 members at this point. PayPal fees and donuts and all that. Net income was $1,078. Next month, anyone with receipts from Winter Field Day needs to get them in so that we can get those checks wrote out and dispersed. Anyone have any questions? Okay.
Thank you, Larry. We appreciate you keeping up with the treasury for us and the club. Great job. Okay, I'm going to give a quick update on the Winter Field Day. Mark has a slide he's going to pull up on that one. Kind of give you an idea. Now, Winter Field Day, we generally don't do quite as well as what we try to do on Summer Field Day, but we didn't have a CW group, unfortunately. We really need to have a CW group. Need to show that on for Summer Field Day. But you've seen the phone contacts, 284. We had 43 digital contacts. Now that's JS8 call, because you could do JS8 call or PSK 31 for Winter Field Day, and we did the JS8 call. Total score was 2220, and it shows you the different areas of the country and as well as Canada that we picked up. All in all, it was a good field day. We had good participation as far as the other two operations. It worked out really well the way we set up the antennas. There was no interference between the stations, which was good. Food was good. Preparation for the food. We want to thank Phil and Bill for that. They did a great job on the food. We appreciate that. The lunch was good. Dinner was good. Breakfast, David Grizzle did the breakfast and had a wonderful breakfast for Sunday morning. Yeah, and that was great. But now we got to look forward to Summer Field Day, and we want to really get going on that and get a real good Summer Field Day set up this year. We want to, because we have a lot of new members, and that's also another way that you can bring in new members or new hams into the amateur radio communities by field days. Because a lot of them will come and see how that's set up and they kind of get interested in it. So that's what we want to do. The microphone's not working real good. Okay, at this point, I would like to have our Oklahoma section manager, Mr. Mark Klein, give us an ARRL update and Oklahoma state of Oklahoma club activities around the area.
Thank you very much. I am the Oklahoma section manager, which means I get all the grief from everybody all over the state, and it's no fun and it's terrible. No, it's a lot of fun. How many people have used VOTA, Volunteers on the Air? Yeah. Volunteers on the Air is a program by the ARRL for 2023 to recognize all the hard working volunteers of the amateur radio community. If you make a contact and you log it on Logbook of the World with another ARRL member, golly, can't even say it, you get a point. If you work your favorite section manager, that's 175 points. If you work one of our assistant section managers or our technical specialists or all the rest of the folks that have badges, there's some extra points involved. The points will get you a certificate towards the end of this process, be the end of the year, but the idea is to make more contacts on the air and get more people to put their contacts in the logbook of the world software. So if you need any help doing that logbook of the world stuff, we're here Tuesday nights for Elmer night, and be happy to get you going on that, or we can get you worked up with some other ways to make that happen. It's a cool way to meet new people and talk on the air. A part of that is the portable W1AW/5 operation. And how many ran W1AW/5 while it was here? Yes, we got some stuff. We ran field day this year as W1AW/5, and the pileups were nice. John, I don't know what the front of his face looks like, but the back of his head we saw for like 28 hours on that radio. He was just never left. It was really good. So we made lots of contacts using W1AW/5. We will do this again in August. So if you want to get your radios tuned up and everything on the air and you want to run as W1AW/5, it is cool. It takes about 3 or 4 minutes for the world to find you. And then there's just a pile up. So you get to be on the inside of a pile up, and it's a lot of fun to do that if you've never done it before. John's going, yeah, I stayed there for 5 hours. They kept him busy. But we can do that online. That's on the ok.arrl.org website. As a sidebar, I put that up for us because we were the first ones out of the box for the country, and we had absolutely no lead time information. So I had to put it up online to make sure we got it going, and the rest of the country found out about it. So we're now supporting 14, I just got a new one today, 14 other states around the nation all run through that same operating system. So we're setting them up and watching all the other folks as they go by. So that's been kind of cool to make that happen and see that happen. And they all get to see Oklahoma because we put it on our Oklahoma website. We're going to hear a little bit more about POTA, Parks on the Air, in a little bit. That's something that's always going on. The Oklahoma ARRL group will have a POTA day, and we're thinking third weekend of April. So it'd be on that third weekend piece where we will have an Oklahoma Parks on the Air. So if you're wanting to get out and operate parks, go see Dwayne over here. He's worked a million of them. Go see John. Who else is a park on the air folk that's in this group? Oh, Bill, you got Parks on the Air? Well, that's cool. What he said was you can go to the website, POTA website, and you can see how many points that you've worked, how many operations that you've had. John was saying earlier that he's this close to his Kilo Award, which means 1,000 contacts coming out of Lake Thunderbird. Sam Dewey is another member who just recently got his Kilo Award. He's made 1,000 contacts from the park, operating out of that piece. And he said, well, it's not, I just go over there about an hour a day, and it's about 50 contacts or so before I go to work, and no big deal. And Peter choked on his gum, I think, when we were on the phone the other day with that. So that's a lot of fun that's coming up. Hamfests in Oklahoma, we've got about 5 of them that are going to be big. Elk City starts us off in March 4th. Thank you. April 8th is the Claremore Hamfest, biggest in the state, just over there on the east side of Tulsa. That's Easter weekend for those of you paying attention, so be careful. But we will move our SCARS meeting from the second meeting to the second Saturday to the third Saturday in April, to accommodate that. Oklahoma City Hamfest is in July. This is one you got to be listening for if you've done this in the past. Enid has always been in November. Enid has moved their Hamfest to September. So you might want to pay attention if you're looking for Enid at the end of the year. They've moved it up until September to get a little bit better weather out of that. And then the final one was going to be Ardmore, the Ardmore Hammerama event, which will be at the end of October. Hamfests are a great place to buy equipment, sell equipment, go to seminars, learn stuff, and buy from vendors. So put that on your list. Also, amateur radio testing. We do testing here, and Peter will talk about that once a month, but they also do tests for amateur radio goodies. What else is on the list? Winterfield Day, Hamfest, Technician of the Day. Same day as Hamfest, or as Winter Field Day, our good buddy Alfred N5 Victor Echo Victor and his lovely bride, she laughs. That's not funny. And his lovely bride put on the technician class in a day. We had a couple of the folks here today came through that class. It's a study session, start at 9 a.m., go through the club bought lunch, which was cool. We go through the 3:30 test session, and we were out of there at 4:45. And we had 9 folks that stayed for the test. We had 7 successful people, and the other 2 are going to come back and get it. They said at the next test session. So it was deemed very successful. And Alfred has even volunteered to run a second one of these events. Now, does Dan know he's been volunteered? Apparently not. The goal is to get the Boy Scouts involved for this next one and get a bigger community effort. Okay. This will be April 1st. So if you have some people that you know that want their technician's certificate, April Fool's Day. That's right. We'll have Jeff out there, and he will be our clown. Jeff and I actually were the clowns of the group on that day. We both came up there and gave him a hard time. It was very neat. We Lee did a wonderful HF demonstration station, and they had they did the Siren Net reporting from that event, so they got to experience a Siren Net happen, and a cool way to do it. So if you're interested in getting somebody licensed, April Fools is it. And we'll be happy to grab more on board. If we get 9 at a whack, that's a wonderful way to do it. So April 1st is the next day. It's on the website. We'll be on Facebook shortly. If you want to help, if you want to be a volunteer, we'd love to have somebody follow Alfred and do some shadowing so we can get more people involved in training that. That would be a cool thing to do. See Alfred back there in the back, wide awake. You got my
on the Scouts participation. So I spoke to the the director of operations for the Scouts, and they're going to participate fully. So this is going to be go out and messaging, go out to all the Scouts for the April 1st event. Now, it's not limited to Scouts, of course. Anyone really from age 8 up have been very successful at doing this. But if you have any nieces, nephews, uncles, aunts, anyone is welcome to the event. There is a book that they'll need to buy, but that arrangement, when they sign up, we're going to get out another sign up. And when you sign up, you'll have an opportunity to maybe come to the fire station here and purchase the training manual. But it's a great time, and it's very fun to see the excitement level of the people when they realize that they've passed. And that was good. We're also have fine-tuned it just a little bit, and we're hoping to get an even higher percentage pass rate this next time. And so we're very excited about that.
You want me to kick you over to Mike? Go ahead. I introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, the incomparable, the one, the only, Newt Rockney. Mike Rocky, sorry.
Thank you very much. And he was speaking of volunteers. That's what I'm here for too. I am the Public Service Communication Chairman for the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon. And each year I come around and beg, grovel, try to do what I can to get people to volunteer to help with the marathon. This year it is on April 29th and 30th. It's a 2-day event again. On Saturday, it will be the kids race, the 5K, and the senior race, which is new this year. So any of you who would like to, you have to be over 65. Any of you who would like to take part in that, sign up. There is a fee to sign up, like all those things that come along. The first 25 miles of it are an honor system. You can do it whenever, wherever you want. The last mile, 1.2 miles, is on Saturday, the 29th. And it's going to be an interesting affair. One of the things that they talked about was with those that are in the over 65 range, these are the people who were actually around when the Murrah building was bombed. And so they have maybe a little closer connection to it. But it's going to be an interesting time. Sunday is the full marathon, half marathon, the relay, and need a total of about 100 volunteers. So far, I've got 37 as of this morning. So really need you to think about it. And if you can, please sign up and help us out. There is a link on your website here. There's a link on the Aeronautical Center website. I think the Edmond Club has the link on theirs, and Ocapa and Midwest City also, I think, got it on theirs finally. So it's there. I have some business cards here with the link on it. You got to type it all in. Galen has several of them over here. If you would like to have one, let him know. And we would really like to have your help. We've got a bunch of different spots that need people to take part, and we would love to see a whole lot more people sign up on this thing. So any questions? Yeah. Good. And one of the things in the sign up at the bottom, I think of everything that you fill out, there is a comments box. Let me know if you have special needs. Some of them put, I did, the class of 49 relay or the class of 49 med last year. I want to do it again, that kind of stuff. Or there is a spot in there that says, I want to work with. If you got some husband and wife combos, one's licensed, one's not, that's fine. And as far as call sign, if it was my wife, I would put them in there as KE5EQC-W or a friend -F, whatever, they'll operate under my call sign for me. So that's kind of what we do. They don't all have to be licensed, but we would prefer it because especially if we don't get enough volunteers, I have to spread them out to try to cover all the spots. So if any of you can see fit to do that, one of the things that's a little different this year, they're doing a background check on all of us. Some of the reasons that why they want to do this, anyone involved in the kids marathon or duties inside that secure area down at the finish line, they've been background checked for years. Anyone with access to sensitive information like medical information, runner, medical conditions, some of that stuff. The people in the SAG wagons get that information. So if you're, since all our assignments here in public service communications are pretty much fluid, you may be at an early mid tent at the beginning of the race and have to get you somewhere else towards the farther on down the line if we're short of people. And, as with all things like the marathon, there's a liability issue. So there's a big CYA issue. So, that's the reason why they're going with the background checks. There was some rumor going around that they were also doing credit checks. No, they're not doing credit checks. Just background checks. So, if any of you can help, anything you need to add? No. Okay. Anything you want to add, Galen? Yes, please. Yes. I have too many sleepless nights laying there God, where am I going to get these people? Where am I going to, so it would be very, very nice if you could help me get some sleep. So, all right. Galen has the cards if anybody needs them, or you can go to the websites. All the local clubs have it on their website. And yeah, so thank you all very much.
All right, we appreciate that, both of you, for the information. Get with them after the meeting if you have further questions. Let's go ahead and go into the nets. Let's start with the Aries net, and we'll go to Mr. Phil.
Good morning. Aries Net happens, am I on the air? Yep. Aries Net happens each Tuesday night, 2000 local time on the STARS repeater frequency. 5 net control operators are doing a great job. We're averaging 30 plus check-ins in the net. That is a roll call net. We are coming up on storm season, so we hope all of you will check out your equipment, make sure your VHF equipment is working good, and you can hit the repeater. If you can, join us on the net, check in on the net. That'll give you an idea that your equipment is working correctly. That's what that net is for. If we have a real Aries emergency, we don't ever know who's out there. People just check in, kind of like they do on the morning net. So we may exercise that on one of the Aries nets, one of these upcoming nights. We may change and not call the roll. We'll just let you check in and see how everybody does checking in. Sometimes that gets a little confusing, but we need to practice that so we can get used to the conditions we would be in a real emergency net. That's it.
Thank you, Phil, for that information on the Aries net. Now we're going to go to Mr. Denny on the MacNet and the Gossip net.
All righty. Well, the MacNet is every weekday and Saturday at 9 o'clock on the repeater. And we've been averaging about 25 check-ins and pretty regular folks out there and a lot of new ones. So any of you new folks that are around at 9 o'clock in the morning, stop by and say howdy. And the Aries or the Gossip net on Tuesday, following the Aries net at 8:30, give or take. And anyhow, we've been alternating net controls on that one. They have a revolving door, so to speak. So there's been 3 or 4 different net hosts that run that. But anyhow, it's a good one where you can come in and just chit chat, comment about anything you like. So come by and see us. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Denny, for that information on those 2 nets. Now we need to go to Mr. Lee Greenleaf on the DMR net.
Good morning. Yep, every Monday night at 8:15 p.m. local time, we do the Oklahoma Aries DMR net on talk group 3140. And it's open to anybody that has DMR capability. Last Monday night, we had 31 check-ins. So it's a growing group all the time. We always try to do a training session during it or give them information about what's upcoming or things to get ready for. And one of the things that we last discussed is the National Weather Service is doing their training sessions now for storm spotters. So if you're ready or you need to get recertified, I urge you to do that. Remember, you have to get certified once every 2 years. So please think about that. Also, if you have DMR, think about adding one other talk group, and that is 31408, which is the tornado talk group. So from there, I'll give it back to you, but thank you very much.
Hey, Leith, appreciate that. Let's go to Bill Baker and do the 10-meter net.
Thank you, sir. As most of you know, we have a 10-meter net on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., 28.445 upper sideband. And everybody's welcome. As the solar cycle improves, we hope to get some out of area check-ins, and we will. Right now, it's still growing. Would make a plea to anybody that is not on 10 meters that's capable, get on it, because like our presenter said earlier, another year or two is going to peak out. And then you got to wait a long time for it to peak up again. But you can do it with a smaller antenna, less power, and have a ball on get your feet wet on HF.
Okay, Bill, appreciate that. Don't guess Jim's here for 6-meter. 6-meter net is on Monday nights at 8 p.m. On 50.200 upper sideband. I understand that they have several people to come on there just to try out their 6-meter setup. If you're wondering whether or not your rig will do it, or if you have an antenna you want to test for that, that's a good time to do that. A couple of other ones I want to bring up that we haven't really been bringing up much. One on there, it's a website you go to. It's called Discord. Some of you may know about it, some may not. It's a good way to communicate with other club members, let them know what your antennas are doing, propagation. If you got a new radio, or if you made a contact somewhere in the world that you want to, brag about or talk about, and let other ones know, so maybe they can try to get on that. You have someone like Ken Richardson that's on every day. Just check and see who's on Discord. Get on there and talk with him. He'll tell you how the propagation is working on the various bands. Discord's fun. It's easy to set yourself up on that. Another one I want to bring up, and I want to get Mr. Klein in this one here, is they have what they call a ham word game. It's on WinLink that he does every week. I'll let him kind of mention a little about how it works and how you get onto it. If you ever played Wordle, this is kind of like a Wordle, only it's done online through WinLink, through your radios, so you can actually set that up and make sure that your rigs are working. You can do a telnet if you don't really have a rig set up yet to do that, but this is a good way to find out whether or not WinLink works. Mark, you want to?
It's a great little practice if you're using WinLink, WinLink is they're doing email over HF or VHF or telnet or satellites. It's a great little piece of software to make that all happen. I built a game called Hamword, and it's out on the web, hambooks.org/hamword, or if you just Google it, there's typically about 50 plus folks from across the world that are playing it. It is Wordle. If you're a Wordle folks, 457 on there for this week so far. It's a Wordle, which is where you guess a 5-letter word. You send a WinLink message to just the word Hamword. So the delivery point is Hamword, HAMWRD. Send a 5-letter word, and it will tell you how to do the rest. We've got, I think, 14 countries, 51 sections, and 57 folks this week that are operating it from all over the country, actually all over the world. So if you're wanting to play with WinLink and get something to do instead of just firing it up, it's a good way to keep your software current, because WinLink updates darn near every day, and the forums update darn near every day. And Larry's got a nice VHF link over there across the river in Blanchard that you can hit VHF if you have a VHF system, or HF. There are lots of good gateways. If you need more help on setting up WinLink, Tuesday nights, Elmer Knight, we can help you up.
Thank you, Mark, for that. Now I want to go to Mr. John Jets and let him talk briefly about POTA.
All right. Good afternoon or good morning, I should say. My name is Jonathan, W5JWZ, Whiskey 5 Juliet, Whiskey Zulu, and I love Parks on the Air. Parks on the Air is taking the nation and the world by storm. They have gotten several DX stations that are very active. In fact, the founder, Jason, had made, I want to say, I looked at his post and he made approximately 8 contacts in DX just on 10 meters this morning while we were in the meeting. So anyways, it's easy to sign up. It's easy to do. You can go out to the entity. You can stay at home and hunt. If you have any questions, you come up to me and I can get you started, or and we can work from there. So I'll be here for a few minutes after the meeting if you have any questions.
Where are you
Thanks.
going after the meeting?
Oh, after the meeting, and thanks for bringing that up. After the meeting, I'm going to Lexington Wildlife Management Area down by Slaughterville. I will be doing, hopefully breaking my first kilo at that park. So 1,000 contacts at that park. If it doesn't happen today, it'll happen next month. But you're more than welcome to come out. Bring your own gear. You can come use my gear if you want. I'm planning on doing this after the club meetings, every club meeting, depending on weather. So bring your stuff out and we can have some fun.
Okay. There's another opportunity to try something else, amateur radio. Work out in the field. It's it's fun to do. I'm one of the hunters. They call them hunters, not activators. I actually go out looking for POTA stations on the various bands. It's a lot of fun to do. They're not going to use a whole lot of power, so it's challenging. And they certainly enjoy you making the contact with them out there in the field. All right, let's go to Mr. Peter Laws and have him talk about the Siren Net and also the VE report.
Which order? Well, let's do nets. We're talking about nets. He's not kidding about the POTA thing, man. That is doing a lot for ham radio and a lot for, amazingly, CW. So many people are getting into Morse code because of the POTA stuff. If you Google up K4SWL, he has just hundreds of videos of park activations. Anyway, that's not why I'm here. Every Saturday at noon, the cities of the Central Oklahoma Emergency Management Association test their sirens, weather permitting, of course, and in Norman itself, football permitting. In support of that, members in Norman, Moore, Noble, and Newcastle, members of this club, go out and they each have picked a siren in their neighborhood, usually, although not always, and they confirm that the siren sounded as expected, or they let us know that it didn't sound, which can be more important. Now, it is 2023. These are modern sirens. Norman replaced all of their sirens in 2011. These are all the latest technology. They do have radio telemetry of their own, but surprise, it's not 100% accurate. Mr. Grizzle will get a report that a siren 27, say, sounded just fine, and we'll have somebody sitting near siren 27 that says, well, I didn't hear it here, or yeah, I heard it, but it was muted or something. And we feed that information back to the cities that we serve. And they're able to direct their repair efforts accordingly. So we've been running this. I can't believe this. We've been running this since 2017 now. What's that? Almost 6 years. We've had, I don't know how many thousand reports. Mark, what are we up to? We're 4,000 reports now, individual siren reports.
5,000 plus, yeah.
Yeah. It's a roll call net. If you're on the roll, we will call your call sign and you give your report on your siren number. And we log all that and pass it along. You don't have to be a SCARS member to give your report. You don't have to be a SCARS member to be on the roster. Al, AE5L Wait, AE5IF or AE5L? I can't remember.
AE5L.
AE5L. Used to be IF, right?
Yep.
Yeah. He has some of his friends who are not yet radioactive report on their sirens to him, and he forwards that information on to us. That's fine. If you have friends that are near a siren and let you know about it every week, we'll take those reports too. We can integrate those. So yeah, we do that noon Saturday. If we know the sirens aren't going to go in a particular city, we get that information out via email to people. I think it's been pretty good. As you can see scrolling on the thing there, we have maps of all the sirens, and there is a list on there if you dig around on w5nor.org/siren. There's a list of who currently monitors which siren, and if there's a blank one, there it is right there. I believe if you click on it's got the call sign there. Yeah. So HAL and X5A covers 2 and 5 in the city of Moore. But you can see 1 and 3 and 4 aren't covered. If one of those is near your house, please let us know. Send an email to siren@w5nor.org and we'll get you set up on the list there. We keep all kinds of statistics thanks to Mark, and it's been pretty good. I'll stop talking now. What was the other thing I was supposed to talk about?
VE.
Oh, we do license testing on the first Thursday of every month at 18:30 hours local time, right in that very room that you are sitting in, most of you. We also do special sessions occasionally. Alfred, N5VEV, as previously noted, ran a ham and a day class at the Norman Public Library Central Branch, which is a lovely facility that I had never been in prior to that test day. And we tested a bunch of people, and a bunch of them passed. 7 of the 9 that we tested passed. They didn't just squeak in either. Most of them were 35, 34, 33 out of 35. So yay. These call sign suffixes remind me of the Batman television show when they were in a fight scene. Zoc, Zao, that sort of thing. Nobody's that old. Okay, they don't remember. All right, fine. Anyway, good. So we got those 9 people got their tech license, and then Charles KF5GRO upgraded to general at our regular session on February 2nd, and our next one will be on March 2nd, and then it's not listed here. We'll do April 1st. We'll do another one of those ham and a day sessions. So yay. Good times had by all.
All right. Thank you, Peter, for that information.
Oh, I should talk about Amazon, shouldn't I?
Yeah, you can go ahead and mention it this time as well.
Yeah.
One last time.
For the last time.
So I used to do a pitch for Amazon Smile. If you go to smile.amazon.com, designate us as your charity, us meaning Scars as your charity, we would get a little percentage of your purchase. But guess what? They killed the program. We will get one last distribution. I don't know when that will be to cover since the last distribution, which I think was in November or something. We've done pretty well with that over the years, but they've killed it. All gone, dead, geschwinkto. So the scuttlebutt is that the only reason they were really doing this was not because they're feeling charitable, but because they were trying to get people to go directly to smile.amazon.com instead of Googling for what they're looking for and ending up at Amazon, because they'd have to pay Google some money. So instead, they were encouraging people to go directly to smile.amazon.com. And the money that they were no longer spending with Google, they were giving away to charities, and that there's a whole tax thing in there and blah, 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 blah. No more Smile. So don't worry about it. We do have some Amazon affiliate links on the VE page for testing stuff, and we'll try to modernize that and get that going a bit better. Usually with those, if you click on the book but don't buy the book but buy something different, we'll get a little kickback still. But yeah, so that was free money that's not going to be coming in. So yay, Amazon. Woo.
Thank you, Peter, for that information.
All right.
Any other old business that we overlooked? Yes. Yes, we do have an update on the hospital network.
Thank you. I'm Levon, KG5GWO, and I've been working for the last year or so with Mark and Mike Rocky. You know, he's already gone. But for the hospital radio network, and we're just basically trying to put together some hams who are willing to go out to the hospitals to work during emergency times and stuff. And we have actually started having monthly meetings now. We're meeting on the third Thursday of every month at 6 o'clock via Zoom. So if anybody's interested in joining in on that meeting and stuff and, you know, offering your 2 cents worth or whatever, feel free just to let me know. Send me an email at landersonkg5gwo@gmail.com. Or there's also an Aries email for that, but Mark just left. So okay, I think it's hrn@aries.org or something. I don't know. But he can give it to you. But mine is landersonkg5gwo@gmail.com if you want an invitation to the Zoom call for the Hospital Radio Network. I'm working on a document to put in front of the administrative people, you know, a 1-page thing, kind of explaining, highlighting what we're doing and stuff. Mark is working on a trifold thing for more of the technical side of it. Mark, what was that email for on the HRN at ariesok.org? So either one of those will come to us. Yeah, Mark is working on a document for the IT side of it to explain to the IT people what we're doing and stuff like that. So between the two of us, we're hoping to get it going, you know, to the other hospitals and stuff. And we're just like reaching out, and we have a contact at Mercy now. We're working on Integris, you know, all kinds of fun stuff. So it's actually making progress. So if you want to be involved, just let us know. Thanks.
All right, that's a good program to get amateur radio operators to working with these hospitals directly, to where we got communication between the hospitals. That's something really good to do. So if you're interested in wanting to participate in that, then yeah, you might want to step into one of those Zoom meetings and listen to what they're talking about and see if that's something you want to do. Any other old business that we overlooked? Okay, I'm going to quickly go into new business. One thing I want to do that we did not do at the beginning of the meeting, my fault on that, but I want to correct that now. If we could, I'd like to take a moment to pause and remember all of the amateur radio operators in the region here that we've lost in the last month. So let's take a moment to think about them. Okay, let's go ahead and go forward on it now. The next meeting is, somebody got a calendar on you? I didn't write that down for some reason. March 11th. Thank you. Next meeting's March 11th. Do come to the Elmer Nights. If you want to learn more about, if you need a radio program, if you want to learn more about antennas, make an antenna. Like he mentioned, our Carl presented on 10 meters. If you wanted to get more into that and you need better antennas to do that, hey, come to the Elmer Night. Come visit us for that. It's a lot of fun to do that, 6:30 to 9 here in this room on Tuesday nights. So come visit us with that. Any other new business that we need to cover before we close? Okay, we have an announcement.
M5SOF, and along the lines of pileups, if anybody has ever been on a ham radio cruise, there is one coming up in October. I was on one 4 years ago on a Carnival Vista. It was a blast. You get your feet wet in a pileup, and it's so cool to be on the good side of a pileup. Anyway, if anybody's interested, come see me. I got some information. That's it.
All right. There's another way to have fun with amateur radio. All right. Any other new business? All right, we're going to close this meeting, February meeting, and look forward to seeing you at Zoom nights and Elmer nights and next meeting. Thank you.
I'm signing off. I'm co-hosted, so when I leave, I don't think this will disappear, but good to see you all, guys. We'll see you later. Bye.